let's get into it because I think one of the biggest things that I wanted to get into in this conversation, and I know it's a big strong focus, is masculinity. What's a true identity of masculinity in this societal landscape? For you, what's a true version of masculinity right now?
Oh man, I get asked questions like, what's my definition of a man or masculinity? I can talk about it from what I'd say is more of an energetic point of view, kind of yin and yang. But you know what? I think, things are shifting in good ways and shifting in ways that, don't feel so good right now. So there's a lot of movement going on here. We hear about toxic masculinity, hear about the patriarchy and the evils of the patriarchy. And the patriarchy had evils, but it wasn't all evil. And, men can do some toxic things, but I don't think men are toxic. So it'd be easy to say that, that the male, the masculine is the provider and the protector, but women can play that role as well. And so the thing that I think, here's where I like to take the discussion, is that our ancestors, we've had two kind of eras preceding the era we're in right now, two significant eras. One, let's say our tribal era, where we're hunters and gatherers. And I'm told about 1.5 million years of human evolution, where we lived in small tribes, we hunted and gathered, and probably gender roles were probably fairly defined. The men kind of went out and fought, gathered. The women probably stayed close and huddled and, had the children and took care of the older people. A lot of the differences we see between men and women probably evolved during that time of just different tendencies of women to be more verbal in certain ways and men to be kind of quieter and just go get things done. So that was one part of our evolution. Now, a key part of that evolution in most tribal communities around the world that anthropologists have studied is that the boys, of course, at a young age were raised in that tribe of women. They were raised by their mothers and the women of the tribe while the men were out hunting and gathering. And at some point of time, around maybe adolescence, pre-adolescence, the men took the boys out of that tribe of women and took them out into the tribe of men. And they put them through an experience that probably in most cases felt life-threatening. Maybe it was at times, indeed life-threatening. Think of the movie 300, the boy in the cave with the spear and the wild animal. I remember when I was a young boy watching National Geographic on television. I remember seeing one where I think maybe even present day tribes in Africa, the boys had to tie a vine around their ankle and jump out of a tree. That was pre-bungee jumping, and I think those vines didn't give like bungee. And I thought, oh man, that could rip your leg out. But it was around facing a fear, getting comfortable being uncomfortable. It might have been strapping the boy to an anthill, maybe cutting him. Maybe it was a sun dance where you put hooks in your chest and stared at the sun for 4 days. And all of them forced the young man to basically face his fear of death, but typically not have to do it alone. Do it with support. Even if he was kind of maybe left alone to do a vision quest on his own for a few nights, the elders were still around, right? They were looking out for him. And then once the boy passed that test, he now was permanently out of the tribe of women and in the tribe of men. And now he had what the women wanted. The women would come to him. He had he was initiated into that masculine tribe. And then what they would tend to do, of course, is do the hunting and gathering and fighting and doing all that. And then they would come back with the food and the furs and the fucks to the women. And the men had what the women wanted. Okay? Now, that period of our existence for most cultures, it varies depending on culture and parts of the world. But around 10,000 years ago, again, it's what anthropologists say, that we started settling down. We found fertile areas, we could grow trees, we could raise crops, we could raise animals, and more of what's called an ownership model developed. Before that, everything was communal. Everything was shared. People moved, they moved. Now we stay in one place. And And this is where really the patriarchy began. Men owned a piece of land, they owned a tree, they owned a goat, they owned their woman, they owned their children. And so for about the last 10,000 years, with more of this agrarian culture, may or may not have had the initiation for little boys, but there were probably still rituals, and there were still, the boys would grow up, as soon as they could. They're out on the farm with dad, with grandpa, with uncles, with cousins around the guys. Whether it's feeding chickens, milking a cow, moving rocks in the field, whatever it may be. So the boys were still always around the men. Now, fast forward, mostly, let's say the last 100 or plus years where we have more of a, since the Industrial Revolution, where now dads started leaving home and going to work. And boys growing up completely with women, both their mothers, preschool, babysitters, nannies, elementary school, mainly growing up around women, having to please women. And then really since World War II, where boys really became a lot more separated from their fathers. And now, to kind of come back to your question of what's masculinity, I think boys have always been primarily raised by feminine influence, raised by mother figures. But through most of human history around adolescence, they were taken out and into the scary world of the masculine and learned a masculine trade, whatever that might be. Learn to fight, learn to do whatever he had to do to survive and have a family of his own someday. Now, nowadays, boys are still raised by women, whether it's moms or surrogates for their moms or school teachers, but there's never a point in their life where the men say, come on, I'm going to show you how to be a man. Whatever that looks like. In every culture, that's going to be something different. So I don't know that it's so important to what does it mean to be masculine, or what does it mean to be a man, but have we ever been initiated into the scary world of the masculine, whatever that looks like? Have we ever had the ties cut between us and mommy, us and the feminine, to where now we're out there in the world saying, I have the skills to penetrate the world. I have what the feminine wants. I can provide, protect, I can be present, I can be conscious, I can, bring the sexual connection they desire. Most men nowadays don't have that inner sense of, I can be masterful in this world. And the way I put it nowadays is a lot of men, especially the younger generations, the younger we keep getting, are primarily hanging out in the nursery where everything is easy.
Yo, guys, what's going on? I appreciate you. Thank you. Turn on all bell notifications, subscribe, like, and comment to the podcast. It's the best way to stay up to date. And hey, it helps us gain the clarity and boost ourselves into that algorithm. We appreciate the support each and every day, each and every week. Let's keep on going to keep on growing. Peace.
Everything's pushed to them. I mean, you get your Netflix pushed to you, you get internet pushed to you, you get social media pushed to you, you get your porn pushed to you. You can order your food on Uber Eats and that gets brought to you. You don't have to cook anything. You don't have to leave your house to go get food. And so what I see for a lot of men, whether even my generation, but down, X, millennials, Gen Z, is a lot of men that have never had any kind of masculine initiation where they feel good about being a man and feel good about walking the planet and feel that they could live in a masterful way. And the way I like to put it is that we can put a dent in the universe, that we can attract the feminine because we're competent and confident. And the feminine for me is not just women, but babies, dogs, cats, money, adventure, opportunity. That's where I get more about energetic around masculine and feminine. Most men just don't have that sense of themselves that, I can perform masterfully and I can attract what I desire. And so that's where I think, a lot of men are feeling really stuck, really lonely, really isolated, really frustrated, really addicted, and just, again, hanging out in that nursery, doing whatever is easy rather than doing what's hard.
There's a lot of key points, even though I want the
There's
audience
a bunch
to
of
really,
stuff there.
There's a bunch of stuff there that I love to share, because I think that where for me it comes through is the misrepresentation of these extremists and the takes of that, like, masculinity is a bad thing, right? And then some men out here are getting confused because they think showing up being vulnerable is what society wants you to do, but you have to know how to kind of, like, how do I say this, massage it in every so often. You can't just stay in that pocket and just be like, oh, well, I'm gonna keep continuously showing up like that, especially in the dating world. Because if you're too soft, women then are gonna say what? Oh, he's weak. He's too emotional. I don't want to deal with him. He's not the man's man. You know what I mean? So it's like
it's all over the map because like I grew up, in the 60s and 70s. Well, get in touch with your feminine side. Be, more vulnerable and this kind of thing. Now, you've got the messages, maybe at the red pill extreme of things. Never be vulnerable. Never, never, reveal yourself. Don't do that because now they have the upper hand and now, you're going to be friend zoned. But I don't think men get put in the friend zone because of vulnerability. I think they get put in the friend zone because of a lack of action. That they hide their sexual desires and intention from a woman and try to get her approval and become, let her befriend him. And once a woman, I said, women don't put men in the friend zone. Men put themselves there because they hide the reason that we're talking to them. Men talk to women because they have boobs and we want to see them naked. I know that may sound kind of crass and shallow. And
it's
toxic.
The way you put it out there, though.
It's you don't. I suppose you can walk up to a woman and say, hey, I want to see your boobs. The thing is, she already knows that. Women know why we talk to them. Now, maybe they fool themselves and think, oh, we're just talking to them because we find them really interesting and highly intellectual, and we think that, they'd make a really good friend. No, the men talk to women because they maybe want a girlfriend or they want a sex partner. That's why men talk to women. Now, everybody's pretending that's not the truth. But it is the truth, and that's why so many men end up in the friend zone, is they think they have to hide their intention from the woman they're talking to. Now, it doesn't mean we have to be crass or abusive or invasive. In fact, for example, I'm not a big fan of pickup. I think a lot of pickup is inherently invasive to women, and I don't teach it and I don't practice it. Now, I am a very social animal. And I am, a big fan of, starting up conversations with strangers in public. But that's not the same as targeting a woman, because I think she's hot, and I think I'd feel good. My ego would like it if she was my girlfriend, or if she got naked with me. Now, again, there's a lot of other pieces we could pull out there. But yeah, so we got all this, be vulnerable, don't be vulnerable. I'd say, don't make a woman your therapist. Have your own coach, have your own therapist, but that doesn't mean you can't be open and revealing, but hopefully you've already worked through the stuff you're being open and revealing about, and it's not like this is the first time you're processing some uncomfortable emotions in front of this woman whom that you want to get naked with. Probably you should have already processed that with your therapist or your coach or your buddies.
I love that you say that. So here's my question to you, because the way I know the way to do it, right? I know you got to be real with your intentions, but I think some women know this now and they've picked up the game of what's being presented on TikTok and social media in these other startup podcasts or the red pill community, or I don't know what the women have in the community for the dating, but they hear these ideologies. Sure. So now they're putting the pressure on men to be like, well, if we're talking, why are we talking? And it's like the guy kind of is like, well, how do I navigate this without coming across too like crude with it? Like I can't say I want to sleep with you, but what's the easiest way from your point of view? You're expert in this. Like, how do you answer that question? I think that's the number one thing that men want to know without coming across too abrasive.
Well, there's a couple different ways we can talk about this. I just stumbled onto a YouTube video the other day that I think had four views, and it was kind of just a graphic image, but a woman's voice talking with a script on it, and the woman saying, I want to explore my sexuality. I would like to have various sexual experiences because I've got a lot of sexual baggage, and I know I need to have different sexual experiences to kind of explore and clean out my sexual baggage. And I thought, okay. And she says, but it seems like all the men I meet can't get past the manipulation. Why can't they just be honest in themselves and transparent and then we just go explore this thing together rather than like doing these tricks and games and manipulating the situation And that's what, I mean, in many ways, I have empathy for women. Now, I know women do crappy stuff to men as well. I get it. I'm a guy. I've had crappy stuff done to me. But I do have empathy for women. I was watching that video that like all of 4 people had seen, and I go, I get it. Here's a woman that's saying, actually, I'm okay with you wanting to see my boobs. I'm okay with us exploring the possibility that we'll have sex. I'm not saying I'm going to have sex with every guy that approaches me, but I do want to explore my sexuality, and I can't do that unless I have sex, right? That's basically what she was saying. But I could understand what she was saying, too, that men now learn about women, how to get a woman, how to connect with whatever, through YouTube videos, through pickup, through red pill, and it is all about manipulation. It's about playing a game. And none of it's about just being you and having your intention to be seen. And that's why I said, for example, I'm not a big fan of just cold approach pickup. You know, you're walking up to a woman that you don't even know. You know, she could be a total bitch, but because she's hot, you think, oh, she'd make a great girlfriend or she'd be good in bed. And I always tell guys, a big mistake men make is we confuse a dopamine hit to the brain, i.e. she looks good. It feels good to look at her. We confuse that with she might make good girlfriend material and she'll be good in bed. Often those 3 things have nothing to do with each other. You can get a dopamine hit to the brain from somebody who's a shitty girlfriend and is terrible in bed. But we men are kind of, so now we think we got to manipulate her because we had that dopamine hit to the brain. How do I manipulate her into either wanting to be my girlfriend or, most importantly, get in bed with me, right? So it becomes this manipulation, and to where all the tricks that are being taught out there on the internet for how to do it. Well, either spin plates or run game or use hypnosis or NLP or peacock or run these lines. You know, after a while, the women, when the guy says, I got a question for you, who lies more, men or women? And the woman goes, I've heard that 80 times this week. You know, after a while, the women are going, can't the men just approach us? Because we know why they're approaching us. Again, they know why we're talking to them. Can't the man just be sincere? Now, here's the thing, we don't have to walk up to them and say, I want to sleep with you. But the ways in which we interact with them do communicate a sexual interest, a sexual kind of interview of each other. And women are doing the same thing. They're just usually a little bit smarter about it than us guys, because mainly we guys kind of lack those basic skills because we've not been initiated. We don't realize we have what they want. We think, oh, they've got what I want, right? They got the boobs, they got the other things I want. And so we think we got to trick them into giving them to us. And the women, when I got out in the dating world in my late 40s, and after my second divorce, I'd not dated since college, and I sucked at it in college. I practiced what I call nice guy seduction. I'd sit next to a girl in class, know the answers and try to impress her, maybe, try to start a conversation, maybe carry her books for her, maybe, solve a problem for her, be smart, whatever. And then, maybe I'd say, I don't guess you'd want to go out with me sometime, would you? Oh, no, I'm washing my hair tonight. They were all washing. The women where I went to school had really clean hair. They were washing their hair every Friday night. They weren't going out with me. And if I got a girlfriend, I'd keep her forever, no matter what. And that was true of my first 2 wives. I was married to them for 25 years. Good women, but I stayed only because I didn't know how to get another woman. Okay, fast forward in my late 40s, I get divorced, I'm out in the dating world. Women are coming on to me, hitting on me, propositioning me, getting naked on first and second dates without me even doing anything. I thought, what planet have I landed on? And I thought, I don't have to play games with these women. I don't have to manipulate them. I don't have to fool them into thinking I just want to be their friend. And the difference was, number one, I think in the way that I carried myself, I was confident. I interacted with people. I'd start conversations with anybody in public. I'd get to know bartenders in restaurants, waiters, waitresses. Everywhere I went, I'd ask people their name. I'd get confident. And out of that, I'd make friends, and I'd meet women, and we'd get to know each other. So I brought a confidence. And I also stopped hiding that I was a sexual being. And so when I was with the women, I'd be playful with them. I'd tease them. I'd get a little bossy with them. Tell them, hey, stand up, turn around, let me check this out. You're looking great. I'd get a little bossy. I would touch them, starting out with appropriate touch of the back of the arm maybe, or, touch on the small of their back. I'd grab their hand and lead them somewhere. And so even when I was practicing what I call going as slowly as possible to find out as quickly as possible what a woman's nature is. So after dating for, a few years, I started going really slow in terms of initiating sex. To me, slow was, maybe we'd go on 5 dates, maybe date for a month or two before we even, got sexual. But I never ended up in the friend zone because the whole time I was doing those things. I was setting the tone and leading. I was touching and being playful. I was kind of being a little bit dominant. And I just kept that energy. I call it positive emotional tension, to where the women were feeling this vibe, this energy, because I was confident, I was leading, I was touching, I was teasing, I was playful. I'd take them on new adventures, and I never got friend zoned. And when, usually the woman at some point would let me know really clearly, I'm ready to have sex. When are we going to have sex? And, like I said, they just take their clothes off. It was, I never had to push or try to get a woman naked. But all the while, they knew that that's why we were hanging out with each other. At some point, we were going to see each other naked. So I never had to say that. I just interacted with them in a way that their nervous system knew what direction this was going. No playing of games, didn't have to play games. And so I think that's what men, because when we're not initiated into the masculine world and we don't know we have what they want, we think we got to get them to give us what we want. No, they want to give us what we want. They do. They want to. But we can't go chasing it, manipulating it, playing games, trying to fake them into doing this thing. And it may work. It may work. But basically you just become a geek with techniques, and you end up being those guys that the women are complaining about on social media, that everything's manipulation and games.
I think it only works, and like the thing is, we're not here to talk about manipulation, but if you're going to have to, go into the pickup or cold approach, in my experience, a lot of what you spoke about is just being confident, being out there. I stand, 6'4", 251 pounds, athletic built.
Yeah.
You get lookers, you get people coming up to you. I see it now. And it's like, I'm with guys and guys will look at me and guys will be like, how? And I'm like, I don't know, man. It's just how it is. They see you interact with a couple people and then people are like, who's this guy? He has that aura. You know what I mean? And then it's what you need to do with it, because now you can have that, but if you can't say the right things or you can't deliver it, because you got some guys that are tall, big, burly guys.
Oh, yeah.
And they're high pitched.
I've worked with them. I've worked with guys that, I'm thinking, man, you're a 6'4" African-American, good-looking dude. Why don't you have women crawling all over you? I don't know.
Right?
So, it is, yeah. Go ahead.
And it just speaks to knowing who you are. I think if you're going to be having to manipulate someone, it's someone that because there's women that will give you the choosing signals. They'll tell you exactly what it is. They know how to do it. But then there's ones that are so tricky with it that I can identify it and be like, she's not really that interested. If I feel like I got to pry teeth and I got to go in there with the dental tools, then I know that you don't find me interesting. This is now becoming a game. And if you operate in gameplay, we're never going to go anywhere. You know what I mean? So what's the point?
Yeah.
Why am I going to want to go out with you? Why am I going to want to date you? Why are we going to go for a walk? Why are we going to do all this? There's no point. I give up. Tap out. You know what I mean?
Tap out. Because, again, if you know you have what they want, you don't have to settle. You don't have to play games. You don't have to be, I don't use the alpha beta kind of like Red Pill does, but if you're trying to get the woman's approval and get her to choose you, you are the beta. She's the alpha. And why would a woman want to be with somebody she perceives as being beta compared to her if we're trying to get their approval? Now, the other thing I was thinking of that slipped my mind, we've also got this thing going on the internet now too, and I just heard about this pretty recently, and I may be confusing it, but basically I've heard now there's black pill out there. And black pill is basically saying unless you have status, looks, and money, you can't get women. Or maybe they're just saying you can't get what they call high-value women. I love that term. I'm going to be a high-value guy so I can get high-value women. Okay, high-value woman just means hot and young, right? That's what, I honestly, do you pick your car mechanic that way? I'm gonna get a high-value mechanic. Got to have a nice ass. No, you want someone to fix your car. Do you pick your heart surgeon high value because they're hot? No, you want a heart surgeon who knows what they're doing.
It's like picking your sports team.
Yeah.
Is it based off the value?
So, if we're picking a future, maybe life partner or somebody that we, want to spend a lot of time in the bedroom with, and we're just picking them purely on genetic, physical traits or plastic surgery or a lot of cosmetics or, whatever. No. So high value to me is somebody that is masterful at fulfilling the role that you hope that they play in your life, whether that's your car mechanic, your surgeon, your dentist, your girlfriend, your lover. Hopefully they're good at it. That's high value, right? Not just, oh, she's really hot and it'll boost my ego because all my guys will be hitting on her because they think she's so hot. Wonder how I got her. So, but now that black pill is saying unless you have the status, the looks, and the money, you can't get laid. Basically, it's what they're saying. It's kind of like, poor me, I'm a victim. Kind of like maybe the incels or MGTOWs, women are doing this to me. It's not my fault. And I tell you what, when I was in my late 40s and 50s, again, dating, after my second divorce, I didn't have status, unless you counted writing a book that no woman had ever heard of as status. I didn't have money. I went through a bankruptcy after my second marriage. Looks, I'm at best okay looking. And back then, I'd kind of put on a little bit of weight. I wasn't even hitting the gym back then. And I didn't, I was going gray, going bald. And I tell you what, again, women were hitting on me, propositioning me. They're going, Robert, I don't want a boyfriend. I'm a divorced mom. I got 2 kids. Don't have time for a boyfriend. But I haven't been laid in 6 months. Let's just skip all the rest stuff. Let's just get it on. And I'm going, wow. And I didn't have the money, the looks, the status. And I dated a lot of amazing women. I had sex with a lot of amazing women, beautiful women, hot women, crazy women, smart women, and without that sex, look, and status. So these are stories men tell ourselves. And I think going back to what you and I both been talking about, if we can have a sense of just being comfortable in our own skin, the way I put it, and this is kind of, when I shared this with Chris Williamson a few months ago, okay, he kind of put it viral, that the feminine is highly attracted to a man who's comfortable in his own skin, knows where he's going, that's his purpose and passion, and looks like he's having a good time getting there. And I tell you, whenever I tell that to like a woman coach when I'm doing an interview, the women coaches always go, yeah, that. The women get it. The man is comfortable in his own skin. Doesn't have to be 6'4". Doesn't have to be black. Doesn't have to have the gym build. But he's got to be comfortable in his own skin, like himself. Can walk into a room and be comfortable talking to people he doesn't know. Gotta knows where he's going. Gotta have a purpose. What are you about? Is your purpose, staying up to 2 in the morning playing World of Warcraft? Is your purpose, finding new porn sites you haven't discovered yet? What is your purpose? Is it putting a dent in the universe? And it doesn't have to be. Gandhi said, whatever we do will probably be of little consequence, but it's still important that we do it. It's still important that we do it. Even if we're not changing the world, it's still important that we do what we're here to do. And if we look like we're having a good time getting there, we know where we're going, look like we're having a good time. We're having fun. We're playful. We can smile. We can joke. And not everything's joke, silly. But, do we have a smile on our face? Why would women want to come hang out with some guy that looks anxious in his skin, doesn't have a clue how to dress, never's been to the gym, frowning, is stressed, why would a woman want to come get close to that? No, she wants to be with a guy that takes her out of her own stress world. My wife will make the comment, today's a 12 hamster day, meaning that she's got the hamster wheel in her head spinning, and today 12 of them are spinning. That's how caught up she is in her. That's how most women walk the planet, with just these hamster wheels spinning. They're stressed, they're anxious, they're overwhelmed. They're living in a masculine world where they constantly have to do, check the list, check the list, check the list, perform. And then they get with a guy that's anxious and doesn't know where he's going and can't add value to their life. Why are they going to be attracted to that? So I always saw myself as kind of women's Disneyland. Women came to my place. I'd say, when I was going through about 12-year span when I was single and lived alone, I maybe saw the homes of maybe only 15% of the women I dated. They all came to my place. Most of them probably didn't want me going to their place because it was probably a wreck and dirty clothes and kids and the TV and dishes in the sink. They'd come to my place. I had an apartment. I'd had a decorator help me. I'd art and carpet and lamps and nice furnishings. I had a house cleaner, and I picked up after myself. And every woman that'd walk into my place, they'd look around. They'd all walk around, kind of their hands out. They go, "Did you do this yourself?" They saw the mark of a woman. They knew, I didn't decorate it myself unless I was gay. So they knew probably a woman had been there. And then they go, "Does it always look like this?" Meaning, is it always this clean and tidy? I go, "Mm-hmm, yeah." And I go, "Why don't you light the candles? Go pick out some music. What do you like to drink? I got vodka in the freezer. I got good tequila if you want it. I make really good margaritas." All of a sudden, they're in Disneyland. They're out of their stressful, got to get shit done, kids to take care of, work to get done, car that needs fixed, laundry. They're in a place where I'm comfortable, I'm calm, they get to relax, they get to, just enjoy a nice space. They don't have to be stressed. I'm in their home, and am I going to see all the dirty dishes? I invited them into a world that they wanted to keep coming back into. And kind of ironically, it was not unusual. It's like we were sitting on my leather couch in my living room, maybe good music on, maybe watching a video or something. They would often fall asleep on my chest and start drooling and snoring. Now, I know that doesn't sound sexy, right? It doesn't sound sexy. But I knew the first door had opened. The first door had opened. They felt safe with me. They trusted me. And from there, other doors were going to open. I already knew that. If a woman feels safe enough to fall asleep on a stranger's chest and start drooling and snoring, they always wake up and go, oh, I'm drooling. Was I snoring? I go, mm-hmm, sure. Yeah, you were. Yeah, that's okay. I knew it because for the first time they felt calm and relaxed. And they go, I'm coming back. I want more of this. And it's not that complicated. It's not that hard to do. But we got to have something that, again, we've got what they want. They want to come into our world. They want to come in and experience what we are experiencing, but we've got to be experiencing something that's of value to them, right? I'm not saying I did like my apartment so I could get women. I didn't. I did it because I wanted to come home to a nice, clean apartment with the lamps lit and nice color and walls and art and the bed made. I wanted to come home to that every day from work. And I also wanted to know if I happened to come home 10, 11 o'clock at night with a woman that I hadn't even met when I left my house that morning, that I didn't have to worry about what my place looked like when she came home with me. So I created that great life. And I just got out there living life on my terms, being a social animal, just creating the space I wanted to be in. And lo and behold, women wanted to be in that space too.
Absolutely. It's everything you're saying, it lands for me. And I feel like I get in conversations with so many of my friends and I see them like, we'll go out to places, right? You think the social lounges, things like that. I see a lot of guys head down, curled over on their phones, texting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm up. You got to be in the present, command the room, breathe that oxygen in that air. But then it kind of comes down to this whole point where it's about the nice guy approach. You know what I mean? We're too nice. You can't be, the type of person that can't have a little bit too much aggression. So let me ask you this question, right? Because it's one of the questions I really, really wanted to ask. And it's about how do we look at the difference between seeking validation before seeking connection?
Two different things. Two different things. Let me back up a little bit and share a tool that I learned that created strong connection without concern for validation. And I just call it testing for interest. And it's just a real simple 3-step process. And again, guys want, okay, give me the plan, give me the schematic, give me the thing I'm going to go run, right? No, you don't run this. This is the basis of all social interaction. It's also the basis of all sales. So I would say testing for interest occurs at 3 levels. And at all levels, you're not trying to make anything happen. You're not attached to a specific outcome. And you're just observing what is the person who I'm interacting with, what is their perceived interest in having an ongoing interaction with me. Not, do they like me? Are they impressed with me? No, just do they seem to want to keep interacting with me? That's all we're observing, right? This is a very conscious process. So level 1 of the 3 levels of testing for interest, level 1 is just social pleasantry. I say everywhere you go, interact with the people around you. Men, women, young, old, fat, skinny, doesn't matter. Just interact. And level 1 is just social pleasantries. My standard is just, how's your day going so far? We can be in an elevator, we can be standing in line at a coffee shop. Just anybody that's nearby, how's your day going so far? It's not invasive. You're not trying to make anything happen. It's an invitation. People know it's an invitation. And they'll either respond to the invitation and start chatting with you, or they'll give you a minimal response and turn away, look at their phone, put on their headphones, whatever. That's all we're observing. No harm, no foul either way. Do they seem to have an interest in having an ongoing interaction or no? High interest, low interest, nothing in between. So, my simple ones are, how's your day going so far? If they have shopping bags, have they been shopping? Well, of course they've been shopping. And they know I'm just starting a casual conversation. There's no agenda. They just know that. Or I'll say, what's good here? What do you like to order? Or everything will quit raining. If the local team, how about those Cowboys? How about those Eagles? How about those Seahawks? Whatever it is, right? You're just starting a conversation, no agenda. And if there's high interest, a conversation will ensue that often lasts all of about 20 or 30 seconds. That's it. That's usually as far as it goes. Now, so if you say, how's your day going so far? And they say, so I'm off to a great start, blah, blah, blah. And they go, how about you? Especially if they're reciprocal. If they ask you back, that's high interest, okay? If they go, fine, and they look back at their phone, low interest. You haven't done anything wrong. You're not a bad person. You're not a loser. You're not seeking external validation. They just have low interest in having an interaction. You don't have to figure out why, because it doesn't matter. They just don't want to have an interaction. So that's level 1. Okay, level 1 sometimes leads to level 2, but it does organically. You can't force level 2. Level 2 is where the conversation kind of just keeps going on its own. Maybe there's a shared interest, you like the same team, or you like sports, or you have a political discussion, or you're from the same hometown, or whatever. Something just clicks. Could be with a man, could be with a woman, doesn't matter. When I was single, I tested with men even more than women, because I didn't have problems getting women, but guy friends. You never have enough guy friends, right? Never have too many guy friends. So I tested a lot with guys, just social pleasantry. You and I, we're standing next to each other. I'd say, how's your day going so far? I go, Monday, what's your hat about? Just something like that. And you might say, Integration Nation, what's your T-shirt? And now all of a sudden, we're at level 2. We're talking about stuff. Oh, you do a podcast? Well, how cool is that? Yeah, I actually do quite a few interviews myself. Now all of a sudden, we're talking about something. That's level 2. It just happens organically. You can't force it. Now, often those conversations will last 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 minutes, depending on the context where you're at, how much time everybody has. Usually they just go a little bit of time, and they come to a natural end. Well, it's great to meet you. Have a great rest of your day. Blah, blah, blah. Move on. Now, level 3 testing is where you require something of them. This is one where you get a little bit of agenda, so to speak. You require something of them to see how high is their interest in having an ongoing interaction, whether it be now, later, another time. So if it's a woman and you seem to be hitting it off at level 2, you'd say, You pull out your phone and say, give me your number, give me your Instagram, how depending on your age bracket, what you'd say. And then you'd hold your phone out, and then if they give you their number, you say, hey, I got a plan. I want to connect with you next week. I got an idea of how we can continue this conversation. And if they go, oh, yeah, here's my number. Here's my Instagram. And if they tell you their name and spell it for you, high interest, right? If they go, I'm really busy, or I don't give my phone number out, or thanks for asking, but I got a boyfriend, low interest. Doesn't matter why. You found out what you needed to know. They don't want to continue an interaction with you, not because there's anything wrong with you, but for whatever reason they don't. But you find out. I call it get to rejection quickly. You don't have to keep guessing. Oh, was she single? Was she in a relationship? I didn't ask. Go for it. Get to rejection quickly. Okay? And with guys, if we're talking and all of a sudden we realize, hey, you do podcasts, I do interviews, I've written a book, you do that. Man, let's get each other's information. Let's follow up with each other. And then we would do that. It's high interest. If I say, hey, well, why don't you give me your number and we'll reach out, and you go, well, why don't you give me your contact information? I'll have my person contact you. Well, I don't know. Maybe not such high interest, right? So again, we're not trying to get them to approve of us. Now, here's what I find with men. Once they master the levels of testing for interest, they get good at being a social animal. Conversations start unfolding just naturally with no tricks, no games, no manipulation. But a lot of guys say, you know what? I have a hard time getting to level 3. I have a hard time going for it. Give me your number, or give me your Instagram, or hey, come meet me at this thing. Let's do this later on. And they go, I get stuck. And I go, here's why. And it goes back to your seeking validation. For most men, their highest goal with women is having their approval. Kind of goes back to wanting mommy's approval, wanting our babysitter's approval, wanting our teacher's approval in 3rd grade. It goes, in junior high, we want the girls to approve of us. But women approving of you doesn't necessarily get you a girlfriend or get you laid. Again, you end up in the friend zone because you're trying hard to do whatever it takes for them just to approve of you. If you notice, women sleep with men all the time who they claim to disapprove of. Right. If you're a nice guy, you've listened to enough stories of the girl you're trying to impress and get her approval while she's talking to you on and on and on. You're her emotional tampon about the bad ex that, keeps being a jerk to her. And, we all know the stories. So they disapprove of that man, but they can't quit talking about him, and they can't quit going back to him either. Okay? While we're the nice guy listening. We seem to have her approval. But do we really? Do we really? So what happens is guys get stuck. Okay, level 2, I think she approves of me. We're having a nice conversation. We're talking. She's smiling. She's being nice. One mistake we men also make, we're nice to women because we want to see their boobs. Women are nice to men because they want attention, or someone to talk to, or someone to do things for them, right? That's why women are nice to men. They don't have to be nice to men to get sex. It's just not required. But we're nice to women, so we think the woman's being nice. She must approve of me. Maybe something's just going to happen on its own. No, it ain't going to happen. So what happens is we have to be willing to risk losing the perception of her approval. And going for the number, being bold, inviting her out, saying, let's go do this. That's bold, and the men are afraid I'll lose her approval. All that approval I've built up, all this, what do we call it, rapport. That's another thing. I don't understand that all these dating coaches making big bucks teaching guys to create rapport with women. No, you create rapport with a client if you're a therapist. But you don't,
right?
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to. You remember, you have what they want. You don't have to create rapport, right? So be willing to shoot all this down. Go for it. Be bold. Whatever you require at level 3 has to be so clear that her response is equally clear. I'll give you an example of this. Years ago, I've been married for 8 years, so I still practice testing for interest. I just don't do it with women because I'm too good at it. And my wife's a jealous Latina, so I don't need to, get any other women.
And we know the stigma that comes with that, though.
Oh yeah, she's my wife's great, and she's crazy. She'd be the first to tell you. She'd be down on the floor goofing with the dog, and she'd go, "Who's crazier, the dog or the mama?" I said, "Yeah, you're both crazy." So yeah, she's crazy and she knows it. I have to rein in, that whole, being comfortable in my own skin, knowing where I'm going, having a good time getting there, testing for interest. I rein it in around women just because I turned 69 a couple weeks ago. My wife's 22 years younger than me. And women much younger than her flirt with me, come on with me, try to get my attention because I'm comfortable in my own skin. I know where I'm going, having a good time, and I don't need them. I don't need them. So I have what they want, right? They don't have what I want. So they're the ones, doing the things that my wife goes, "That woman was flirting with you." "What woman? You should have pointed her out to me. I missed it." So an example, I was in a coffee shop several years ago. And I like a Starbucks, and I was on my computer working on my laptop, and a woman sits down next to me, attractive woman, a little bit younger than me, look professional, and I'm kind of working, and how's your day going so far? And we chatted a little bit, and I needed to go to the restroom. Well, I'm in a Starbucks, so I set my laptop down with the lid still open because I didn't want to close off what I was working on, and I said, "I'm going to the restroom." I said, "Don't read my email." Just kind of being playful. "Don't read my email." And so I come back, and she goes, "I couldn't help it. I had to read a few of your emails." And I go, "Okay, you're a bad girl." So we got to talking. And I asked her, what she did. She goes, "Oh, I'm getting a master's degree in marriage and family therapy." Okay, I have a PhD in marriage and family therapy, but I didn't tell her that, right? I didn't necessarily want to go that route. But, I started asking a few questions that, would kind of show I knew what she was studying and stuff like that. And then I said, we need to hook up. Give me your number. I said, I got an idea for how we can get together. And she goes, "Sure." Gave me your number, and we got exchanged information, maybe email, something like that. And I got to thinking later, I thought, that wasn't an obvious date request. It could have been we'd been talking, about what we did and this and that and where she goes to school. And of course, I knew where she was going to school because I knew there's only one school in the area that had a marriage and family therapy program. And so I thought, I got to get bolder. I got to find out for sure if she knows this was a request for a date, right? And so I sent her another message. It was maybe Friday, Saturday, and I said, "Hey," I knew what part of town she lived in. I said, "I'm going to be listening to music at this place Saturday night around this time. Come join me." More of a date situation. And she said, "Thank you for the invitation, but that's my boyfriend's birthday, so I'll be with him that evening." I go, "Great. Have a great evening." I found out what I needed to know, right? I didn't find out all that other stuff until I got bold. So I had to risk losing the perception of her approving of me to find out, was she thinking we were just going to have a coffee date and network, right? Or, no, I want to see your boobs. I had to distinguish what kind of connection I was asking for. So I had to get bold enough to say, "Come join me in a bar, listen to live music on a Saturday night." Right? That's not networking. That's a date. But I had to get that bold, and I found out what I needed to know. She had a boyfriend, so I go, okay, nothing to pursue there. Move on. I don't have to waste any time or energy on it. So you do have to be bold, but that testing of interest is how you connect with people, become that social animal without needing to get their approval. In fact, you find out, do they have high interest in interacting or low interest? And neither one is a sign that they approve or disapprove of you. Don't even worry about that. That's not even the question. The question is, do they want to have an interaction with you? Right? And then you decide you want to have an ongoing interaction with them. And if you do, all right, let's see where it goes.
No, well said, well said. And, you're the expert in this. And I'll say this, the book, I can't wait to deep dive into it because actually how I had the conversation to come your way was after watching Dr. Ryan Taraban interviewed you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love it.
And brilliant interview. And I picked up on so many different things. And the thing is that we're in a different society where I know that the pendulum is swinging the one way. Mm-hmm. But I think what men got to do, and like you said, is do it in a way where it doesn't come from us being intruding into who they are as women. Be just open, be honest, be direct, be assertive. But I think that with that red pill community, it changed and it warped the perspective, because that's the extremist talking points, what a lot of these red pill guys are coming with.
And you know,
And I know
a lot of what they teach has validity, but my issue is they weaponize it against women, that women are out to get us. They got their weapons aimed at us, so we're going to aim our weapons back at them. And kind of like that song Hallelujah, Leonard Cohen, all I learned of love was how to shoot someone who outdrew you. All right, I'll shoot you before you can shoot me, man. That's love. That's connection. No.
And you see it across the YouTube spectrum. You see it across TikTok and all these reels. And it's just like, you can't develop these men into this dangerous mindset, because if that's what's happening, what do you think the counter is going to be to it? It's like boxing, right? You can't come out and throw all of these flurries against someone that's in the Philly shell like Floyd Mayweather, because what's going to happen? He uploads all the data and he starts picking it apart. Women can understand if you're coming from a hurt place versus coming from a safe place, if you see what I just did there.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because you can be safe with how you communicate, how you talk. I feel like me and my friend, he's in tech. We say that we both have this thing where we can ASMR you, right? He does it to me when it comes down to talking about technology. I know you'd love what I'd say here. And I can do the exact same thing if I'm talking to someone about like podcasting or sports. It's not that we're boring, but we know how to correlate within the conversation. We give it that safe understanding. Like so many women that I've dated, committed relationships, they'll be on the phone. We'll be having a whole out conversation. And like it goes back to the reference points that I was laughing. They fall asleep in your chest.
Yeah.
But some of them will fall asleep on the phone. And it's not because you're not boring them. It's because you're making them feel comfortable. So the guard starts to come down. So think about when you do that in person and you can do that. The guard comes down. It comes down. And then next thing you know, you're like, interesting. We got something here. And it makes for a good committed relationship if that's what you're looking for.
And people get interesting when their guard comes down. I'll kind of just shift this a little bit here. I'm in my office here in my house in Puerto Vallarta, and behind me, every other month or so, I do a workshop in here with usually about 8 guys. And I led groups for years. I was leading 5 men's groups a week when I was in private practice in Seattle. So I like working with groups. And here's why. When guys get vulnerable with each other, so like in my workshops here, they're Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. Friday night, we just open up. Why are you here? Why'd you pay a few $1,000s to come do this workshop? And, we hear all the time, well, men aren't vulnerable. If they feel safe, they are. And now here's the interesting thing is, 8 guys show up at my office on a Friday night. They don't know each other from anybody. Now, they're already on signal texting. I've set up an app. They're already texting with each other. Maybe they even had a beer before they came over to my house. So maybe they've started to introduce themselves. But, guys will get in the room. We're all looking around. We go, all right, who's this guy? We're measuring each other. We're putting each other in a hierarchy. Who's going to be kind of the head
We
guy?
all do it. We all do it.
All do it. I like that guy, or that guy reminds me of a jerk I know. I wish that guy hadn't come. Or, we're all doing that. And then all it takes is one guy to get vulnerable and share something, like maybe about a porn addiction, and then another guy gets vulnerable, and then another guy. And I tell these guys, before this weekend is over, you guys are going to be connected to each other like you've been frat buddies for 20 years. And I tell you what, they do. They stay in touch with each other. They get on Zoom calls. They stay connected. And you take guys that you might just on a superficial think, that guy's a geek, or he's a nerd, or he's boring, or he's a loser. And then once people get vulnerable, you go, I kind of really like him. Yeah, he's a little nerdy. Yeah, he's a little geeky. Yeah, he's a little socially inept, but I kind of really like him. And kind of that goes back to the vulnerability that we don't have to manipulate women. We can be our awkward selves. We don't have to have the status, the looks, or the money. If we just can be ourselves, and guys will say, oh yeah, my mother told me the same thing. Just be yourself around girls. They like that, but they seem to like the jerks, not me. And I always ask the guys, how many people do you really let see the real you? How many people know how much time you waste surfing the internet? How often you stay up to 2 a.m. playing World of Warcraft? How much time you spend jerking off to porn? How insecure you are? How much in debt you are? How many people do you see the real you? Nobody. Okay, and you're saying women aren't attracted to the real you? You don't let anybody see the real you. When are you going to risk actually being the real you? Now, that doesn't mean you have to walk up to women and say, I'm in debt. I stay up way too late most of the time, and, I've got calluses from jerking off so much, No, we don't have to, we don't have to do that. But if we are, that's the part about being comfortable in our own skin. So, and that's the work I think we need to do. I'm a big fan of doing that with other men, doing that in a men's program, men's group, 12-step group, something like that, with a coach even, where we practice that vulnerability to where I'm okay with me. I mean, I can tell a woman anything about me. I had an experience. I think it was the second or third date I went on with a woman, and I kind of liked her. She was a high-value woman. She had a master's degree, worked at the University of Washington, to raise her kids, owned her own home. I think her kids, one was just starting college, one was in college, and a high-value person in many ways. And she had told me a little bit about her history on second, third date, whatever, second date maybe. Her husband, who also worked at the same university as her, cheated on her with a coworker, and that went on for months, years, I don't know. It was traumatic for her. On again, off again. She found out about it. He finally said he ended it, and then ended up leaving her and married the other woman, right? Moved to a different state. Okay, that's her story. Her husband's cheated on her, went on for a period of time. It was traumatic, divorce. All right, I cheated on my first wife and married the woman I cheated with. And I mean, that's 40 years ago, but it's not a secret. I talk about it openly. And because I've talked about all my mistakes and fuck-ups, I don't have to hide them from anybody. I don't even have to worry about like somebody coming after me on social media saying, I know secrets about you. I'll go, hey, come talk to me. I'll tell you something you probably don't know. Everything I've ever done that I have any shame about, I've talked about it. It's on an interview somewhere. It's out there. And so I thought, I kind of like this woman, but I need to let her know sooner rather than later. Because if we kept seeing each other, do I wait 6 months, a year, and go, oh, by the way, I cheated on my first wife like your husband cheated on you. So I thought, okay, we're at a happy hour in a nice restaurant. I said, I got to tell you something. I said, I know your story about you, your ex-husband, what happened to you. And I was holding her hand. I said, I got to tell you, I did the same thing. I cheated on my first wife, got with a borderline woman, ended up marrying her, did everything that your husband did. And I said, and I have shame about it. It's not a good way to behave. I said, the good news is it got me into therapy, and I wrote a book about it, and I'm making a difference. But we hear about your knees knocking, that you're so anxious. My knees were knocking. I was anxious. I like this woman. And I told her my story about cheating, and she looks me in the eye. She said, not only do I think less of you, I think even more of you now. I got real. I got vulnerable. Now, she wasn't the first person I'd shared this story with. I'd already done my work. But I did think she was a good enough woman that I thought this might drive her away. Okay, if it does, it does. But I'm going to do it now rather than after 6 months. She goes, now you tell me this? And so that actually deepened that woman's interest in me because she saw my honesty and my vulnerability and my realness and my willingness to tell the truth, not just manipulate her into a situation. And so, again, going back to the whole vulnerability thing, if we do this with our bros, we do this with men, we're going to have a confidence in ourselves. It doesn't matter what anybody finds out about us. My bros like me. They think I'm all right. I think I'm all right. And then from there, doesn't matter.
It's the importance of men groups, is the most important thing. You know what I mean? I have it, it's prior to when this comes out, it's one of my friend's 40th. And all that side of the pocket of guys, because they're married, they have kids and things like that, we don't really get a chance to see each other. But I know that night is going to be fun. It's going to be drinks. It's going to be laughter. It's going to be reminiscing back in the times playing basketball to whatever we did.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when you have that and you know that it's like a vice grip, and you may not talk all the time, you pick up where you left off.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I say to a lot of men, it's important to find at least literally like 2 to 3 guys, even one, but 2 to 3 solid dudes where that person you can call if there's something going on in your life that you can't really figure out, because we understand each other. You see what I'm saying? And what I love about you is that self-acceptance piece. When you simply sit here and can self-accept all of the faults that we have or things that we've been through, it's easy to speak about it. You know what I mean? That's the true essential part of vulnerability.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I've done the work, and believe me, it took years before I could tell people, yeah, I cheated on my first wife. I had a 2-year-old son. I wasn't proud of that. I hurt people, and I had to tell a lot of people before I could tell it and not have my own internal shame attack about it. And am I proud of it? No. Did I learn from it? Hopefully I learned as much as I needed to learn. But yeah, I've done the work around it in therapy, and just again, even just sharing it in interviews. So that's how we get comfortable in our own skin, is revealing the things about ourselves that we don't want people to know. Now, do it with safe people. Don't go do it with a woman on our first date. Don't do it with your mother. Do it with safe people. And that's where I say start with guys, because we guys, we've all fucked up enough that we go, hey, bro, whatever you're saying, you're not alone. Been there, done that.
Sure.
And now all of a sudden, and now here's the funny thing. Like when the guys gather here for a workshop, the reason why they have such a deep bond when they leave here is not because they made a good impression on each other. It's because they got real with each other and they shared their dark side, their mistakes, their fuck-ups, the cracks, the warts. And when you listen to a person do that, again, you almost can't help but like them. You go, yeah, again, like he's kind of nerdy, kind of techie, kind of this, kind of that, talks too much or doesn't talk enough, but I like his heart. I like his soul. I like what's inside him. That's how we connect.
For sure. Before we get out of here, 1% better, right? How can men become 1% better heading into 2025?
Okay.
In the dating realm?
I got a bracelet here that just says "Do Better." It's connected with my men's program, Integration Nation, and our mantra is "Good men doing better." And I tell men all the time, we don't have to be better. We don't have to change, be somebody different. We're fine. We're good, and we can do better. And this bracelet, I don't pop it, snap it. I just I turn it. I remind me, okay, I can listen better. I can be more patient. I can get to the gym more often. I did this morning. I got in the gym, so I did better today. And just break it down. We don't have to become a different person. I don't have to say, some guy told me the other day, a new client, pretty overweight, and he goes, I'm going to get into the best shape of my life in 2025. And I said, how about you just go to the gym on Monday? Just do better. Monday, go to the gym. Send me a picture. He said, well, I've got my, how do you say it, Peloton? His bicycle?
Peloton, yeah.
Yeah, Peloton. And I said, yeah, you're probably hanging your clothes on it. It's in your bedroom. He goes, yeah. And I said, send me a picture of you on your Peloton. And that reminds me, I'm going to have to send him a message because I haven't seen a picture of him on his bike. So it's thinking I'm going to be in the best shape of my life in 2025, or I'm going to, make that next million in 2025. Now, how about I just, every day get more conscious about how I spend my money? How about every day I do some exercise? So I'm a big fan of just do better. That's all. Just do better. And you know what? We all know where those areas are. Can I be more patient? Can I be more revealing? Can I get more exercise? Can I eat better? Can I get to sleep? Can I do better getting to sleep on time? Can I do better in terms of what I procrastinate on? We all know. We all know where we can do better. Maybe can we do better just getting out in public and being more of a social animal? Can I just talk to one person a day and just say, hey, how's your day going so far? You know, how can I just do better? Just one day at a time, one little event or action at a time.
Appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Dr. Robert Glover. Appreciate you coming on the podcast. Before we get out of here real quick, plug all your information, the book, more importantly, the coaching program and what you can offer and things like that for the audience.
Yeah, I actually have 4 books, and now you got more reading to do.
I know, right?
No More Mr. Nice Guys, the book people usually refer to as the book, came out early 2003, so we're getting close to, be 25 years before long. And actually it was out as an ebook before then. I've written 2 books on dating Essentials for Men, Dating Essentials for Men, Frequently Asked Questions, and another book I co-authored called The Big Stick that I co-wrote with a coach of mine, just about everything that I teach in all my courses and all my programs. So those are my books. I do one-on-one coaching, a little bit, not a lot of it. I have on-demand video courses. I do workshops, like I say, here in my house. I do 4 or 5 a year, just 8 guys, and we just get real with each other. About a year and a half ago, I launched Integration Nation, my men's membership program. I think you have a membership program as well. A lot of good men out there are doing. We men need it. We need these communities.
We do.
And I'm a big fan of. I usually invite people who have other men's programs to come on my program and be like, I guest interview them. So I'll probably be reaching out to you to get you to come talk to my guys. I'm a big fan that there's 3 billion men out there that need a men's program. So we're not in competition with each other. We're working together.
Oh, no,
we're
no.
working together on this.
I'm about to, before we get out of here, I'm about to add a simple wrinkle to the game. You know what I mean? In 2025.
What do you got?
I can't give out all the secrets yet. Can't do that off-bar conversation.
All right. There's a little teeing this thing up, right?
Yeah, just a way to help men and even in the content creation space, health, fitness. A lot of folks don't know I used to be big in the health and fitness personal training game. So all of that stuff is gonna come full circle again. You know what I mean? And let's continue to keep riding the wheels till they fall off, my friend.
Yeah.
Yes. I appreciate you.
Rory, thank you.